All right. Hello there, good people. Thank you all for joining us again today on a Thursday. As you all know, my name is Ateira Griffin. I'm CEO and founder of Bond, Building Our Nation's Daughters. And I have two wonderful panelists here today to talk about momming and mental health in the age of COVID and beyond. And so we'll be discussing mental health topics and issues, momming through this age, how you can support your children with mental health as well, and how to cope. And they'll be sharing some personal stories, I'm happy to say, because they are also moms and working through this time as well. So I'm happy to have you all here. Bond, Building Our Nation's Daughters, is a single mother mentoring nonprofit here in Baltimore City. We do 2-generation work with single mothers and daughters, 2 generations at a time, to promote economic mobility, educational achievement, and also healthy, positive relationships between single moms and daughters. And we've been hosting these momming in the age of COVID talks since early April, I think. Yeah, early April. And so we are going strong and will continue to do so because our community needs to come together. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Kizzy to introduce herself and let us know who she is, what she does, and a little bit about the young people, the young person that she has.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Kizzy Petrell. I am a licensed professional counselor, and I do work with young people and have my own young person here at home. I've been a licensed professional counselor for about 15 years. And
there we go. It's okay.
Sorry.
You got to turn off the.
I did. It did. It did on accident.
Okay. And so I have not only worked with young people, but also work with children and families as well. I'm currently working in a private practice, my own private practice, where I see, actually pretty funny, I see a lot of young adult women and also women, middle-aged, older age women with just life challenges, stressors, anxiety, things like that. And in addition to that, I also manage a mental health outpatient clinic and have a PRP program that supports people with mental health. So that's a little bit about me. And I do have a young person here, my daughter Kennedy. She's 16, she's 17 next week. And so we'll talk a little more about her and our relationship and this whole thing with mommy and in the age of the COVID, right? After you introduce Miss Hope.
All righty.
All right. So I am Hope Gilchrist. I am a mental health therapist as well. I have my own practice. It is Array of Hope Counseling Services, and it's been around for about 4 years now. I am also working with the United States Post Office as an EAP consultant for the Baltimore district. I have been in a variety of, let's say, positions when it comes to mental health. I have been a school counselor for 7 years. I have done outpatient mental health therapy. I have done school therapy as a therapist at a non-public level 5 school. I am also, as we are talking about mommying, so I am a mother of 3. I have a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 12-year-old. So I am mommying during COVID with kids on different levels as well. So that is an experience in itself. So yeah, that's it. And I'm also an author. I have a children's book on bullying, and I have another one to come soon. So people can look forward to that one coming. So yes, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for being here. One, thank you for everything that you do for the community at large and supporting like mental health and having been a school counselor and just working with folks to not only cope through this time, but other times when we also deal with stress and trauma and we need some supports. And so I just want to go ahead and get us started and remind everyone who is listening, one, thank you for joining us. I'm sure you have thoughts and things that you want to make sure are addressed during this time together. Make sure you go ahead and put any questions that you have in the chat. That way we're able to address them. All right. So I'm going to kick us off with our first question. And this first question is really like a kind of like a general question. It's could you tell us like a little bit more about like the work that you do and how COVID-19 has impacted your work?
Okay, I'll start. So, as you guys already have heard, that Hope and I are both counselors, licensed professional counselors. Our title is an LCPC. Our credential rather is an LCPC. So we both work with individuals, be it couples, families, children, adults, adolescents, and we both have very similar but also different backgrounds. But we come together in that we have worked with those populations of individuals. So in terms of how COVID has impacted my practice, I would say I've seen an increase of clients, returning clients, or clients that may have fell off in the past have called or reached out to me to return. And I've also seen increase of new clients needing the support and needing therapy. So I would say that the business has been very, very busy. Just being able to, support these clients. Many times they're already struggling with a lot of their own things, which is why they come into therapy. But I think COVID-19 just added another layer of that stress and anxiety for them, and various levels of stress, because we know that people deal with it differently, they see it differently. So it really just kind of depends on where they are with the issues that they already came in with prior to, and now COVID is like that other slap in the face. And so seeing a lot of clients who are, dealing again with grief and loss, especially if that was in their history prior to, just dealing with clients who are just struggling with coping. Teenagers. I have a few teenagers I see, and the issue has been trying to manage schoolwork, receiving lots of schoolwork from teachers and trying to manage it all, spending all day working on schoolwork, and or being stuck in the house, not being able to see their friends, not being able to, see their family members. So that's, pretty much how it's impacted my business. It's been pretty busy because people are struggling. A lot of people are really struggling. And some people just want just the consult, maybe not just therapy per se, but just to, have somebody to kind of talk to them and just say, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. So that's pretty much where I've been with it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. And for myself, the impact has been one, we are now working from home. So that's a big deal. So moving from in-office sessions to telehealth sessions, that's definitely a difference, and trying to make sure you have a space in a home that you can actually provide those services in a confidential way, to make sure that you're HIPAA compliant. So that's definitely something that has changed and impacted, how I do my work, and making sure that I schedule my sessions when my kids are napping or they're asleep, and try to get them early in the morning or late in the evening. So, my schedule has changed. So I'm working kind of all different hours because I'm trying to accommodate the family piece along with the work piece. And as Dr. Petrell said, work has increased. More people are looking for services and support, which, this is a time that people would be reaching out for support. And we want people to reach out to therapists for support because it's a good place to go. And as Dr. Petrell said, it also with like consultation, not just consultation, but just some in the moment support. Like, I just need to talk right now, need to work this situation through, because so me personally, that's the impact that it's had on me and my house, is just trying to, make it all kind of work, because we're doing our work differently. But we're just as effective, but we just kind of do it differently.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I forgot to mention a piece about just working from home and finding that space and time to do it. So.
Yeah, which is why I wanted to ask that question first, because I kind of want to ground us in remembering, like, you both are people, therapists are people, therapists have lives, and are also moms. And so you are juggling different things while also meeting the needs of community members who may need your support services at this time. And so I really wanted to make that point first. And I think it's important to remember that a lot of the things that you may be recommending to clients to do or talking to your clients about, you may also have to be reminding yourself about at the same time. And so that's very real. Which takes us into my next question. Let's dig right in. Like, what advice or like practice or tips do you have for moms who are listening about managing their mental health while also managing their families during this crisis?
Okay,
Wanna go?
so I can start.
Okay.
So I would say the first thing is relax, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and don't be so hard on yourself
Mm-hmm.
because right now things are different, and we've been talking about this idea of new norm, right?
Mhm.
And so adopting a new norm for you and your family, because sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to follow a routine and make sure our kids are, having all this structure and,
Mm-hmm.
we're not falling off of what they're eating. And so all of these things that would be usually these rules that we would sort of follow that we
Mhm.
can't sometimes in some households we can't right now. So don't be so hard on yourself. Be okay with the space that you are in and what you create for your family.
Mhm.
And like I've always said with my example, I let my kids right now stay up a little bit later so that they can sleep in a little bit later so that I can have time to work. So
Mm-hmm.
that works for me. Some people still, are able to get up and get the structure of the day going, and it works for them, with their kids, depending on their situation. So everybody's
Mm-hmm.
situation is different. So that's another big thing to understand that everybody's situation is different. So if you happen to see friends, peers, and everybody's doing this way, and you're not, it's okay. And I
Mm-hmm.
and so understanding that it's okay that you don't do things the way somebody else does them. Because
Mhm.
right now, in the time, we're doing things the way we have to do them for our
Yep.
own households.
Yep.
And recognizing that sometimes in all of this, you may have a moment where you're not okay. And I tell friends all the time, it's okay
Mhm.
to not be okay sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mhm.
we're geared in a place where we're always used to being okay, then when we're not okay, we think that's a bad thing. And sometimes if we put ourselves in a place where it's like, okay, I'm not okay, and now I can process what I need to do, but not being upset with not being okay. So
Mm-hmm.
we go a different route when we're upset with not being okay, as opposed to, okay, I'm not okay. And I'm recognizing, I'm saying it, and now I have to just deal in that place that I'm in. And that
Yeah.
is, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when like I said, you may as a parent need to, for like I said, for your own mental health, go sit out
Mhm.
front, go take a moment, take a breather, take a
Mm-hmm.
time in your closet. Because again, we're finding space now. Some places are bigger, some places are smaller. So we're finding space to just be, you
Yeah.
know, and have a moment of when we used to be able to go out and go do this and do
Mm-hmm.
that. We can't anymore right now.
Yeah.
So it's okay to make a little space for yourself in your closet or in your corner or something to just have a moment. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just to have that time for yourself to regroup, to figure out what today is going to be like. Some people need that structure. So if you feel like you need to create a structural situation, then
Mhm.
do that. It just depends. And so as for this is, like I said, an advice for parents.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say right now, Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Patricia.
Yep, I agree. She said it all. And I'm just going to piggyback. You just have to do what you need to do for you. I
Mhm.
am that person who need a little bit of structure. So my household is going to look differently than Hope's. And also I have an older kid and just
Mhm.
one. So it's definitely going to look a lot differently. So my structure, I still kind of embrace some of my old routines prior that I was doing prior to COVID. I said this in another Zoom meeting I was in on Sunday.
Mhm.
Like I'm an avid workout person. So my routine was getting up and going to the gym. The gyms are now closed. So
Right.
I work out in my bed and I still get up at 5 a.m. and go down to the basement and work. But that works for me. That's
Mhm.
what I need to give myself to start my day. And I teach my clients this, and this is just even prior to COVID, but I teach my clients this. You have to be able to give back to you before you can give to
Mhm.
anybody else. So for
Mhm.
me, for Kizzy, I have to get to that gym when it was open or get to that basement now that the gyms are closed because I can't be good for my husband or for my daughter or anybody else if I don't give back to me. So that what works for me. And some parents, some moms, it is not going to be that structure. Like Hope said, it may be, where the kids are going to sleep in a little later so you can make these teletherapy calls and have
Right.
these meetings and all of that. And that's fine. But be okay with whatever it is that makes you feel okay and it works for your household because
Mhm.
everybody's adjusting and readjusting and trying to find space and time, and what works well in my household may not work well in someone else's, and that's
Mhm.
fine.
Mhm.
I think we even like, social media, we get into this whole all the time with like the comparisons and this and that. And, a lot of times we just have to be comfortable with where we are and with who we are. A lot of times social media can make people feel like, oh, I have to be doing this, or, I have to be. There was a meme that came up that I saw a few weeks ago, and you guys may have seen it, where it said something about, if you don't come out of this COVID-19 experience with a new skill or a new trade, then you're lazy. Says who?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
How much pressure is that to put on? So you're telling me that if I don't, grow a business, if I don't write a book, or if I don't do something extravagant, that I'm lazy. Sometimes I like being lazy, and that's okay.
Right.
So yeah, so that's what my take would be for moms out there, is just, give to yourself first, whatever that looks like for you, the closet, for me, the basement, the walk around the neighborhood, whatever you need to do before you can give to the family, and be okay with not being okay.
Right. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Like, that's the biggest thing. Do not put so much pressure on yourself. That's important, because that'll take you out just in itself. And it's okay to you reach out for support the best way that you can. When, that's how I manage it. Like, my supports are, since I can't get out and do some of the self-care that I would normally do, I reach out to friends. We're texting, we're doing, Zoom, Facebook, whatever, happy hours. We're doing family dinners from a distance. Doing those things. So
we text all the time. We text all the time. So you have to do what's best for your mental health. So and we're no different.
Right.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you all bring up, like, this is the practice that I do for me, because I know this is good for my mental health. So someone else can look and say, okay, well, I need to figure out how to look inside and say, well, what is it that makes me feel good? What is it that fills my cup, so that I can do that, like you said, Dr. Kizzy, and Hope, like you said, do that first. And then what is it? How does the day need to look in order for me and my family to be able to function properly in this time? And it may or may not look like what it was
before. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there may be some great days, and there may be some not so great days.
Absolutely. Some days might look like, oh, this was a quick, definitely a fail. But okay. Do it again tomorrow, and see if tomorrow is different. Tweak it and see what's up for tomorrow.
So, speaking of which, what has been working for you and your family during this pandemic, and what's still a challenge?
Mine is still the whole. So for me, like I said, letting them stay up later and get up later in the morning was working. Let me say that was working until the school piece came in. And so now they have times where they have to be on the computer in the morning, when I have to be doing sessions, and when they have to be in class, and I have to make sure that the computers are up and everybody's good. And if I left you stay up late, then you won't be up ready for in the morning. So then the challenge, comes in where I'm waking you up and say, you got to do it anyway. Like, let's get going. And they're kind of like this, like in their classes, but but we go back and we look over what they needed to make sure they got what they needed to get out of it. And again, I'm just not going to be hard on myself over this, because to be honest, I'm not the educator. I do the best that I can to make sure that they show up and they do what they can. And I reach out. My family is a huge support system from even a distance. I have some family here with me, and then I have some that are far away. And if I can't understand a math problem for my kid, I will put it in a group text. Somebody will help me figure out this answer. So somebody in this group will gonna help me figure out how to show her how, or whatever the case may be. So like, I am that what's working for me is work for me. But I'm also finding time I'm teaching them more to cook. So like, when it's dinner, I'm like, what do you want? Well, let's come cook it together, so that they can be more independent in doing that and learning, so to make things. And I'm finding that they're doing that more often. And I'm like, okay, so that works. It's working. I was also very adventurous, and to some to say, at this point, they have been in the house, and this isn't necessarily fun for them anymore. So there's times where they're kind of like, what do I do next? So I was adventurous to say, what color do you want to paint your room? Because they had been talking about it. And guess who let them paint their own rooms? Me. And so some people may say, that is crazy. I'm not letting no kid. Ain't no room. But guess what? They had a good time. And then we
Mhm.
fixed the tops and it's their room. It's gonna be what it's
Mhm.
gonna be.
Mhm.
And they love it. They're loving their spaces. They're,
Mhm.
they're making it their own. They're asking for little things to put stencils on their wall. So whatever creative mind and energy they have right now, I am exploring that as well because
Yeah.
I'm recognizing that my kids. So yes, it's a change for me, but it's
Mhm.
also for them, and
Mhm.
so they aren't getting to be stimulated the same way mentally, physically, and all of that. So because of that, I have to be the one to give
Mhm.
them some of that. And
Mhm.
with the weather being crazy as well, I can't just say let's go out front
Yeah.
because then it's cold and it's raining and then it's hot and then it's so we're just all over the place. So
Mhm.
we just what we're doing is we're making it work
Yeah.
for the
Got it.
for us,
Mhm.
and we're exploring different ideas of ways to do that. We have we're having game nights and
Mhm.
so we're there's structural time, there's academic time, there's learning in that. And like I said, I have a 5-year-old, so just trying to teach her and make sure that she's got all the skills she needs for her next level of school next
Right.
year. So but I found even it was well, I usually play like word games on my phone. And I
Mhm.
found one and so I was playing Word with Friends one night and I was like, well, she's like, can I play? And I was like, okay. So I'm letting her move the letters around. I'm like, this is a good opportunity for her to be learning her letters. So she's
Mm.
learning letters. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, which one is this letter? All right, you got to put it here. We got to see what word we make. And we're having like a game. And then she's thinking this is a game, but she's learning. So we're
Yeah.
just finding different ways to make it work. So like I said, some days are more challenging than others because I'm cooking a lot more and I don't feel like it. But
Mhm.
whatever.
Yep. Yeah, that's the same thing, cooking a lot more. But the same thing goes for my household, just making it work. So my daughter's a little older, so I'm not on, I don't have to. The funny thing, now this is a funny thing. I was explaining this to somebody, I think we were talking yesterday.
Yeah.
And I said, not yesterday, the day before yesterday.
Mhm.
And I said, when school was in session, it was like pulling teeth to get Kennedy up and out. And we live literally like 8 minutes from her school, if like on a good day, probably less than that. But now that school's not in session and she has, distance learning and all,
Mhm.
this girl is up. She, get up. I assuming she has her own routine.
Mhm.
Get up, she showers, and then when I, in the morning, I get myself together and I'll, come downstairs to start my sessions and I'll peek in her room and she's on the computer working. I'm
Mm.
like, wow, this is interesting. It was pulling teeth to get you up and out when school was in session, but you have no problem.
The power of
No
choice, huh?
problem. Yeah, I was like, oh my goodness, this is funny. So,
Mhm.
but she's pretty, independent, and so she's been doing, doing her schoolwork, doing a lot of the virtual college tours.
Mhm.
She's been doing a lot of that. I was funny. I told Hope yesterday. She even applied to some small Presbyterian college in Alabama. I'm like, I've
Oh,
never been to school.
okay.
She's like, Mom, I got accepted because they're accepting juniors right now. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
So she's
wow.
been doing a lot of that. She actually signed me up for a parent meeting last night on Zoom. So
Mhm.
she's pretty, she's good in her space. And I'll see her when she wants lunch or, she'll come make her lunch.
Mhm.
What I have not done and I need to do is have her make dinner more. Because I find
Mm.
myself having to still make dinner. And that can be a little challenging. I'm trying to finish up a session and put something on. And so, but she did offer to make some brownies last night. So we're making small. And I said to her, I said, well, just follow the instructions. She said, well, how do you make brownies? I said, just follow the instructions on the box. She said, well, I really want us to make them together. So I said, you know
Mhm.
what? We'll do it tonight. And then
Mhm.
we're going to do the pedicure things. I said, I'll give you a pedicure. Maybe you give me a pedicure. So we're
Mhm.
finding ways, like Hope said, just finding ways to be creative. When walking around the track, if we can, around the neighborhood. So
Yep.
that's pretty much it. Just finding ways
Mhm.
to make it work.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah.
that's like the big key takeaway is finding ways to make it work. And I heard
Mhm,
creativity a lot in there.
mhm.
Like being
Yeah.
okay with being creative and doing stuff that's out of the box and even taking it back. I remember a big part of me being a kid and being in the house whenever we had like snow days and stuff where we were home for a prolonged period of time. That's when I learned how to cook the most. Like we learned how to cook, we made stuff, just making things up, using our imagination, something that sometimes we don't get to use a lot. as a former educator in school because we have a specific structure to follow. But like now the kids can see like a little bit of how to incorporate their personality, their imagination into things. And like you all being parents and allowing them to do that can give them the opportunity to have the choice to use that in the future. So they'll know like, oh, there's other stuff to do outside of like just being on a tablet or on the phone or like always having to be entertained by someone else. It's almost like a skill that they're developing because you allow them the opportunity to explore it a little bit more.
Right.
And we don't want to just add about
do that.
go ahead.
I was that has mentoring for a kid as well, for them just to know that they can explore different things and they don't have to be stuck in a safe space or in a specific frame of mind, like whatever. And that's what I say. Like, all right, let's try it. Let's see if you like it. If you like it, if you don't, you don't. So, you know.
Yeah. And I just want to just add that I'm actually enjoying this time. Also because it allows me to check in with her more often than I am when I'm working, and I don't miss any red flags, because there was a point in her school last year when she was a sophomore where she became very overwhelmed and very stressed out with school and just the pressures of it. And so I missed it. You know, it wasn't until we had an outburst that it actually came up. So it allows me to be able to be here and check in with her to see where she is emotionally. I think that's important as well, because as parents, as working parents, we're often, on the go all the time. You can miss that mark. So it allows me to be here to be able to check in every day, several times a day, even to the point where I might get on her nerves, but I'm here. And that feels good for me.
Absolutely. And that kind of that directly connects to my next question. And before I ask it, folks who are listening in, one, thanks for joining us. Two, if you have any questions, please be sure to put them in the chat so we can answer them. You have two wonderful therapists who are here and can answer your questions. So this is definitely the time to ask. The next question I have for you both is like, how have you helped your children understand the pandemic? Like, what did that conversation look like? And what can moms do for and with their children? Some of it you already answered as far as with, but like, what can they do for and with their children to ensure their mental and emotional state is intact?
I guess I'll go first. Okay, so mine is explaining it again on 3 different levels. So my 5-year-old finally, like 2 weeks ago, said, "Why am I not going to school?" Like, and she's like, "Was it because of the coronavirus?" And so I was like, "Well, yes." And then she was like, "Well, what does it do? Is my teacher there? Are my friends there? Are they gonna get it?" And I was like, so then I had to explain to her kind of what it was, and it's to protect her and her teacher, and all of her peers are home, and they all want to be in school, and so that was kind of her question. The middle one hasn't asked much about it. She's kind of read on. She's usually my one who's kind of like, okay, but so she hasn't said much about it. The oldest has done her own research. So like, a couple of weeks ago, I was coughing, and I was like, she's like, hold your breath for 10 seconds. Let me see what's gonna happen. Like. She's like, they said that if you hold your breath for 10 seconds, then, and if you can't hold your breath for 10 seconds when you go and you cough, then you might have it. So she's got all of these things, and she is the one who will not leave the house unless she's going from point A to point B. And that's it. Like, she's very, like, the middle child and I, we take walks because she likes to do. So we'll take walks around the neighborhood together. We've been outside exercising. We jump rope. And she's like, yeah, I don't want to get it in the air. I'm good. So, we've explained, we've talked about what it is, what it could do, how it could be, and she's very clear that she doesn't want anyone in her family to get it. She wants everybody to be safe. And so the conversation has looked different on different levels for mine, but and I'm finding time to have one-on-one time with each one of them at different times, because they require it differently. So it's, and that's so that I can make sure that they're okay. Like I said, the oldest is kind of like, I'm over this though. I'm tired of being in the house, and so I just wanted, she's, I don't know who she was talking to, but she had plans the other day that she's like, she was talking to someone, I think one of her friends, and she's like, when this is over, I'm going to Massanutten or Ocean City. I'm going somewhere. I'm like, oh, okay. Right. You got this thing.
Got their own little plans.
Right. I'm getting up out of here. Like, I'm going somewhere. So, so that's a big thing for her. And it's, like she loves cruises, so she's like,
Mm-hmm.
so does this mean we won't be able to go to for a cruise for a while? Like, what is so they are asking questions about that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but then, like I said, and one day I was leaving out to go to the grocery store, and the 5-year-old said, "Make sure you don't get the coronavirus. Make sure you wear your mask." And I'm like, "I'm going to wear it. I'm going to be
Yeah.
good." So, it's
Mm-hmm.
they're in a good place right
Mhm.
now, but they're definitely missing their friends. Well,
Mhm.
definitely my middle one. She's missing her friends. She's missing the ability to be social like she usually is. So, they're but they're okay like right now. And I
Mhm.
know some kids are not just
Yeah.
because this is just too much of independent, and then they have each other. And some
Mhm.
people don't have multiple kids or they don't have, so that's a different thing. So that's where I am with my kids. And I think that their emotional states are right now intact because we do talk and they know that they can come to me and we can have conversations if there's an issue or if something's going on. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where we are over in my area.
In my area. So I do have to do those check-ins because I am one, she's one of one. So um I'm trying to remember when this all first happened. She also kind of did her own research about it. We talked a little bit. She had some questions, but every once in a while she'll, want to go. Like yesterday, she asked because her birthday's coming up. Could she get her hair done? I had to just
Mm-hmm.
reiterate. No, Kennedy, no, the hair salons are not open. Can I get your hair done right now? We'll try to do something different, but you can't go out and get your hair done. So every once in a while that may come up. But for the most part, I mean, she's been okay. I check in with her and make sure she's, okay. Recently, ask about her friends. I know most of her close friends. I'll ask how your friends doing and how their parents doing, and
Mm-hmm.
did you talk to this friend? How are you guys connecting? And she'll say, yeah, I talked to this one, I talked to that one, and I'll hear her on the phone or FaceTime, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the same here. I feel like we're in a good place despite all the ugliness that's going on in the world. I'm okay with the way my household looks and the way Kennedy is,
Mm-hmm.
understanding this whole COVID thing. And like Hope said, with her oldest, she does miss her friends. I think the
Mm-hmm.
first it seemed like the first maybe week or two that they were out of school, it was like, yeah, we get to stay up late, do whatever. But then when the governor said, we're closing for a few more weeks, that's when it was like reality set in, like, okay, so that means I'm not going to go to prom. And we had college tours planned.
Yeah.
Actually, the week of the 27th, March, when we had a college tour planned that day. We had one planned for next month. And her prom would have been this Saturday, her junior prom. So she hasn't said much about that. But, I mean, she's, like I said, she's doing well and we're just managing it. And the birthday is going to look different this year because it's going to have to be a virtual party. Her
Mm-hmm.
birthday is next Thursday. So, but we'll get through it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we'll get through it.
We
So,
had a virtual party as well here. My
yeah,
my
yeah.
mine turned 12 on April
Mhm,
11th, and she so we had a family virtual birthday party for
mhm.
her, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was cool. I let her kind of plan out how she wanted to do it. It was different,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
my family showed up and we had a good time, and it
yeah,
was what it was.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
yeah. That's what we're planning on doing. I ordered her cupcakes. I'll go pick those up. I mean, there's only three of us, and I ordered like a dozen of cupcakes. I don't know if we gonna eat all these cupcakes, but I'm damn sure not eating but one. And
mm,
just maybe go pick up her favorite meal, dinner from
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, and yeah, do the virtual thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm hearing a lot of like open conversation. One
Hmm.
was like a main thing that I heard in both of your comments is like having open conversation that's developmentally appropriate, like
Right. Hmm.
talking to each of your children if you have more than one at the space where they can specifically understand the information. I even heard repetition, like you may have to explain it a few times
Hmm.
um to help them understand like what's happening in the the actual expansion of the impact of COVID-19. Another thing that I heard was being okay with how they react to it, like what their safe space is. So like you mentioned, Hope, like one of your children doesn't want to go outside. It's like I'm not going out there because I'm not breathing that air. And then you have your middle child who's like, I'm gonna go outside and play. And we can go jump rope and stuff, and that's cool. Um, and
and
so like
joining
be okay with that. Mhm.
right, and actually, Kizzy and I have both done this in which we're joining our kids. Like we both done TikToks with them. something that they would probably usually do with their friends,
Mm-hmm.
but we've done with them
Yep.
as
Mm-hmm.
well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
joining them and meeting them where they are as well,
Yeah.
and to
Mhm.
try to create some sort of, space that they do what they do. So we understand it and we join them in
Yeah.
that place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also checking on them to make sure they're connecting with some of their other, if they have the opportunity to,
Mhm.
connecting with some of their other parts of their social circle.
Yep.
Mhm.
I know, Kizzy, I heard you say, like, I asked my daughter, did you talk to so-and-so? Did you talk to
Mhm.
so-and-so? So
Yep.
it's like a check-in to see, like, are you still connecting
Yeah.
with your
Mhm.
people socially? Because that's a high need, especially
Mhm.
as kids are continuing to grow, they need to be able to have their social circle that they connect with.
Right.
I do want to ask a question, and I'm not sure. I think some parents may want to know, like, what's a red flag look like? Like, what are some things that you should kind of just look out for that may not necessarily like maybe a red flag or a key indicator that your child may be trying to cope with COVID-19 impacts, but not having the best of time doing it.
Mhm.
So I would say potentially not sleeping all the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Definitely sign of depression potentially.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sleeping, just can't find a way to get up and do and be motivated to anything, to do anything. That's like a big one. Worry,
Mm-hmm.
continue
Mhm.
to worry about, things, and you're like, okay, what are we worried about? Like I said, and that can come about in questions like, well, what if
Yeah.
this, what if this, and what if this, and what if this, or what if daddy leaves, and what if mommy leaves, and what if they never come back? Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the case may be. If you have to go in the hospital, what should I do? So that's
Yeah.
the indicator that they may not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like Kizzy said, socially not connecting with anyone, don't want to be around anyone. Maybe you can even watch like their eating habits. Right now, everybody's
Mhm.
kind of overeating, so that one might be a little hard.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not eating, not having the energy to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So just those are some symptoms, or them just them saying I'm not okay. Like I don't know how to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say those are some key things to look for.
Mhm.
Um, that may be a little bit more than what they would normally like. If they normally sleep, is one thing, but if
Mm-hmm.
they're sleeping in the daytime and then nighttime, and then like like you can't be this sleepy.
Yeah.
But
Right.
um, yeah, I would say
Mhm.
that. I don't know if you had anything extra to add, Kizzy.
Mm-mm. Nope. Just of course, I think you already said this, but just the isolation part, if they don't want to come down and eat dinner with family, something we
Mm-hmm.
encourage because we're, still in our own separate spaces in the house during the day. The only person that really leaves out is my husband to go to work, but Kendi and I are kind of in our own separate spaces. But when I cook
Mm-hmm.
dinner, and like I said earlier, I'm enjoying this time because we do now, I can now maximize the opportunity for us to eat dinner together as opposed to when I was seeing clients in the evening and managing the office on the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
We're never eating dinners together. So just, if they're like, don't feel like coming down to, spend time with the parent or their other siblings, and that could be a potential red flag as well. It's like that isolated behavior, disconnected from their friends, not communicating with their friends and family.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you have to know your child too. You know your child's temperament and when they're,
Mhm.
happy, sad, or if something's, not right. So I would
Right.
definitely say the check-ins. The check-ins are
Mhm.
definitely important. And
Mhm.
verbal check-ins. I mean, just sit down on the side of the bed one day and just say, hey, how are things going? What's going on with school and how, how your classes, how are you doing with the distance learning? So just doing
Mhm.
those check-ins as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about self check-ins? Um, a lot of the times we have parents and moms who forget about themselves. Like, what
Mhm.
does it look like to do a self check-in?
Yeah, I think I kind of mentioned it earlier.
Mhm.
You have to pretty much do, well, again, my philosophy is you have to pour into you. And what I try to encourage people to do, moms and non-moms, is
Mhm.
to give yourself, like, even if it's 30 minutes, give yourself 30 minutes to do something, whatever that looks like for you. It could be sitting down having a cup of coffee. I mean, sometimes that works for me also, just sitting down and having that time just to pour into myself, because
Mhm.
if I can't do that, I'm not going to be good for anybody else.
Mhm.
So I think just being able to give back give back to yourself, pour into yourself. And having your own check-in. I mean, like Hope said, checking in virtually with your friends, texting throughout the day, touching base with them and see how their day is going, and vice versa. So being able to socially connect with our peer groups as well, like that's very important. So those are the two things that I would encourage, moms to do, to pour back into yourself and be able to check in, with others.
I would also add being self-aware, so working on self-awareness, and so knowing your own baseline. And so am I off my baseline? And if I'm off my baseline, what does that mean? What am I lacking? What am I missing? And in an effort to be transparent, like there are times for myself, I'll even text Kizzy and I'll say, today is just not a good day, and I don't know why. And then I have to check in with myself to figure out what's going on with me because I feel off. And so, I'll do things to try to bring that back, come back to my baseline. So that may be a walk, that may be a check-in with my friends. Like I said, I have a really good support system, friends and family. Absolutely, hands down. There's a group of friends who I talk to every single day, and they're yeah. So, and then I have family, my siblings. We talk every single day. So, and if we don't, we're kind of like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why haven't I heard from you today?" So it's understanding and knowing your own baseline.
Right.
And so if I'm off kilter with my baseline, and if I'm overdoing, then if I feel overwhelmed, then what does that feel like? That feels heavy. That can feel dark. That can feel like I can't move. That I can feel that, meaning I feel stuck. So understanding what those signals and those signs are like, so that you can then reach for your support systems. Because if there's a moment where it's like, I don't know if I feel like cooking dinner. I don't know if I feel like, if I can't get up from this chair, I don't feel like cooking breakfast, lunch, dinner. I don't feel like I'm just out. Then it's time for you to do something for you, whatever that may be. Like, we can't go get manicures right now. We can't get pedicures. We can't get our hair done. We can't do those things that, some people normally do to help build them. And, like prior to this, I had just started to go get like every 2 weeks a massage because I felt like I needed, and that's gone. Like it went away. Like I had just started. So I'm already missing that, and that it was something new to me. But it's finding out what I need. So if when you feel that way, it's like, all right, it's me time. I gotta check in with me in this moment. And that means I need to get me some water. I need to get me some whatever you need to do to kind of refilter, what is it? Get a re-up for yourself. Then it's taking the time to do that. So I think that those are like important for yourself and ways to take care of yourself. And recognize when you're not okay as a parent, as well. Because if people don't realize that their kids recognize also when they're not okay. And so, it's really kind of taking a moment within yourself to recognize I'm just not okay. And then I need to do something about it. And like I said, hopefully the support systems around you will realize I haven't heard from you today. I haven't talked to you. I haven't seen you. Is everything okay? So just having people who would check in with you as well.
And I would say also, just to add to that, to not feel like you're being judged or embarrassed because you are reaching out to someone and saying, I'm not okay and I do need some support. Because I think some people tend to isolate and not, share how they feel because they feel other people may judge them and feel like, oh, why are you not okay? You're working from home or whatever the case may be. But working from home can still be stressful. And you could also have other stressors that were there before this whole COVID that you're also trying to manage as well.
Right.
So, yeah.
It looks like our host might have
had technical difficulties.
Right. So we're gonna wait a second to have her back potentially to see kind of how that goes. Yeah. Let's see.
Seemed like she had a call or something that may have came in that interrupted the broadcast.
Well, we can actually continue. There we go.
Oh, there she is. Yeah. We were about to take this show on the road.
Y'all could, because this is great information. Like I'm really happy to have you all on here and sharing so much information. Like we have so many comments talking about how helpful this has been so far. I think the last thing that I really wanted to touch on was just like tools, resources, opportunities out there. Like, where are spaces that people can go to get support if they need it? Any tips that you all have that you want to make sure folks leave this conversation with?
Okay. Yeah, I do have some resources,
Mm-hmm.
but if you want me to email them, that is probably too much to kind of say, and people try to write things down while I'm talking. But I can email you like some resources, even for like little ones, like
Mm-hmm.
activities, coloring books to talk about COVID and their thoughts about. So I actually found some more resources today. I think I sent those to you, Hope, as well. I emailed you some
Yes.
more resources. So yeah, I have a ton of like activities, even like activities for
Mm-hmm.
children who have siblings, for children who don't have siblings, for younger children, older children. So I can email you all that information, and you can definitely filter it out, however you filter it out to your subscribers
Mm-hmm.
on here.
Um,
So yeah, if you want to
I
do
would
that.
add that, there are a couple of things with parents, if you have multiple children, or if you just, even if one, for calming techniques for relaxation, maybe get a coloring book, a couple of coloring books. And with multiple kids, maybe challenging them to a coloring contest. So in this moment, it gives everybody an opportunity to kind of go in their own space and to relax, to focus out of anything that could be potentially stressful in that moment,
Yeah.
to just focusing on where we are and what we're trying to get accomplished right now. So it doesn't have to be a winner, because that creates a different competition, but it could be a winner. You guys can decide whoever wins gets to pick dessert tonight, or
Mhm.
whoever wins gets to do whatever. You can be, again, being creative with that opportunity. And even as an adult, just sit back and do a word puzzle, do coloring or something like that. Also, like meditation,
Mhm.
understanding, like, we call them mindful moments, mindful walks. So when
Mhm.
a mindful walks mean when I go walk, I'm not taking any worries with me. I'm
Mhm.
being mindful to just get in my space and just be free for this walk, for
Yeah.
this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Mindfulness in the sense of, I don't know how to zone out. So, okay, I'm going to get in touch with my five senses. While I'm on this walk, I'm going to think about some things I see, some things I hear, what I taste, what I smell,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things, so that it puts me in a place of peace for the
Mhm.
moment. So it's like, again, some people do meditation. There's meditation apps. You can look up free apps for meditation, that are out there. Some apps that are out there to help with just mental relaxation. Also,
Mhm.
like, if you're in a moment where things just like in life, sometimes when there's clutter,
Yeah.
start somewhere. Even starting small. It could be
Mm-hmm.
anything. This could be cleaning up. This could be cleaning up your house. This could be cleaning up your life. This could be cleaning up your moment, or whatever. Start small. Again, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Do what you can do. Get in touch with where you are right there. So if I need to do something, I'll start here. And sometimes we don't realize that once we get started, I know we've all had that moment where we were like, I'm not doing that right now. I'm just not, it's just too much. But as soon as we get started, before we know it, we didn't finish it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's because it frees up space in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, I could do this. It adds a motivation. So in that, I would say also we can get out some journals for kids who are struggling, for having things that are happening for adults. Start writing it down. And at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, at least it's coming out, and then things don't circulate. It's not
Mm-hmm.
circulating in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So get something, write it down, get it out your head, so that way you are freeing up space for if something else were to come up. Because we're in
Yeah.
a time where every day potentially things could change. We are dependent on other people to tell us how to function and how to be right
Yep.
now.
Mm-hmm.
So, today we could be content with where we are and things are good. And then tomorrow they can say, well, you can't even go to the grocery store. And that was peace for somebody.
Right.
Um, so it's just understanding that when you prepare yourself for the fact that every day could be different, what I would
Mm-hmm.
normally do is out the window at this point, because that norm has changed. Norms come because we create them in that time for us. And so what's
Right.
normal for me may be normal for me and
Mhm.
you. And right now we're all in this together.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a place where our reality all around us is the same. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever is in our houses has to be whatever we create as our norm within our situation. And so it's just opening ourselves up to do that. And as far as
Mm-hmm.
counseling goes, again, If you feel like I'm just in this and I don't know what to do, I can't get my mind straight, I can't use none of those techniques, reach out to a therapist. It is
Mhm.
okay. Like the stigma connected to it, erase that and use the supports that exist. We are
Mhm.
out here. There are people who, if no matter what you want, if you want them to look like you know, whatever you want, you can look for that
Mhm.
type of therapist, and they will be a resource to you, you know. So that's like, there's some people who, if you don't have health insurance, there are people out here who are offering pro bono services right now.
Yep.
Most therapists right now are doing telehealth therapy. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
all that, if you didn't have time, or you don't feel like you're gonna have time, or you don't know when, pull up a closet, pull up a car, pull up a moment where you
Mhm.
can now go sit and do that for you in that space. I
Mhm.
often tell people to go to Psychology Today. That's a
Mhm.
good place. There are people there. You can also go through your insurance and
Mhm.
then call them and find out people who take your insurance if that happens to be a thing. And then, or, just so be okay with reaching out for support when you feel
Mhm.
like you need that in this time, because we are
Mhm.
dealing in some times where it's difficult. Some people have more money than others. Some people have less. Some people have more space. Some people have less. So all our situations are going to be different. So our coping is
Mhm.
sort of different, but we got
Mhm.
this.
Yep.
Again, it may be different when we come out of this on the end. And so at that point, we just got to worry about it then. Focus on what you can control in the moment, because we can't control things that are too far out ahead of us. And if we focus on them, they add the pressures to everything else that's going on in our lives.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for some people, this situation can be, a re-traumatization of something, because if they've already, struggle with some issue, just sitting still can be a problem for them.
Mhm.
It can really trigger things in their mind that, I'm not feeling, they have to get out, which is probably why we see so many people out on the road now, because they can't sit still and be okay, because there's some history of trauma or some unresolved trauma that they haven't resolved and they're struggling with. So like Hope said, all of those techniques, are definitely, wonderful and perfect. And, if all of that fail, you can't, do any of those things, the coloring books, the journals and all of that, then
Mhm.
definitely seek professional help, because it's out there. And everybody's, all counselors, all therapists, all social workers, we're all working teletherapy. And so there's no reason now to say I don't have the time for the appointment, or I have to take my kid to school, pick my kid up, because we're all home and we're here.
Yep.
So yeah. And I will also say, oh, let me just add real quick. And I do know one resource off the top of my head. My
Uh-huh.
church is having a mental health event on May 3rd. It's virtual.
Ooh.
May 3rd. I think it's May 3rd, whatever that
Mhm.
Sunday is. It's a virtual event, and they're having, yes, May 3rd from 12 to 3. This event would have been in person, but because of everything, it's going to be virtual. And so we're going to have people there, mental health people, medical people. So just is a health fair. So I will
Mhm.
send you the Zoom information for that, so people can just plug in and receive free information about whatever, health, well, I'm CPR stuff, but health, mental health,
Mhm.
whatever. I'll
Mhm.
definitely send you the Zoom information for that.
That is awesome. Thank you all so much. I think that this conversation today has been pretty enlightening, and just also reaffirming for a lot of folks to just remember, like, there may be some days where it's great, there may be some days where it's
Mhm.
not, and it is okay to not be okay. And we just need to work with ourselves and be self-aware and understand how to check in with ourselves, and also check in with our family members in order to move past those things or grow past those things. Um,
And
I
use
think
those support systems.
Yes, the support system. Definitely make sure that you utilize your support system, whether that's family, friends, what have you. So it might be neighbors you just realized you had that you didn't got to know. Like,
Yep.
people starting to know their neighbors again. But all of the different support systems and the tools that are out there, that have been listed, we'll make sure that we take the list that you send us, Dr. Kizzy, and create something to put out on social media to share with folks, and put it on our pages so people can get in touch with that. We've
Mhm.
also been running a ticker in case you are interested in getting in touch with Dr. Kizzy or Hope. Their information is running at the bottom of our screen. We'll also be sharing that. I think we've already shared it in the chat too. Um, A lot of the questions that we did have from the chat, we were able to talk about. And anybody who's watching this after the fact and wants to reach out to myself at Bond, please make sure you do that. We are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we are at MD Bond on Instagram, at Build Mother Daughter Bond on Facebook. And we support moms and daughters in positive, healthy relationships. And this is one of the ways that we do it, is by connecting to other folks who are doing work out there that will support a positive, healthy relationship. And one of those types of people is a therapist. And we are clear on that. So if you want to join us on Wednesdays for our mother-daughter lunch bunch, we have those at 12 noon, Bond in the Caf on Wednesdays, just to come and chit chat and kind of recreate a cafeteria feel, because I know the kids might miss it. Some teachers might even miss the crazy sounds. And parents who are working on the front lines, one, thank you. And two, that's also a space where you could be able to connect with your child if you're at work and they're at home and you just want to have a check-in during the day with them to see how their day is doing. We have that set up. And we will also be launching our YouTube channel next week for some of those fun, creative activities that you mentioned, Hope and Dr. K. We are going to be putting out videos with the how-tos in 8 minutes of how to do certain things, so you can have fun with that. And we will be posting these conversations on our YouTube channel as well, so they will be a resource for the community for the time being and forward. So thank you both once again. Y'all are a wealth of knowledge. Just really happy to have y'all on here. Remember, folks, to reach out to them, and we will be back here again next Thursday with some very special guests who are in public leadership, talking about policy and being a mom in the age of COVID. So make sure you tune in with us next week at 1:30. All right. Thanks again.
All right. Later. Bye-bye.